We're talking Ball State, Don Shondell and Ray McCallum talking Ball State, Nate Davis and Bonzi Wells, Scheumann, Bell Tower and Worthen, Fans Oliver from Muncie to Berlin, getting Concannons, Carters and Greeks.
All right, everyone out there in Cardinal land, welcome to another live edition of Ball State of the Union, your number one Ball State football podcast by the fans, for the fans. We're talking current headlines, exclusive interviews with Cardinal athletes and coaches. Boy, is that ever true. And fun off-the-wall debates that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to us on all of your favorite social media platforms. And Colin, today has been a crazy day for Ball State of the Union. And you know when you hear that song, you know you're going to be in the number one spot for Ball State football news, and we're going to be talking Ball State. I am John, your host as always tonight, joined by my good friend Colin over there at Ball State Football Talk. Colin, crazy day today. I know we're going to get into all that here in just a minute, but what's been up since we talked last? We're starting to get back on our schedule. Football is in the air. We've got high school football that started up. I know you got some news about that. College football starts next week. What you been up to since we saw you last week?
I'll mostly go into the high school football tip. I've been coaching down at South Bend John Adams. We got a week 1 W, crazy game, certified rock fight. Started with a kickoff. We kicked it off to them. They returned it for a touchdown, got a 2-point conversion, and we ended up winning 9-8. So just crazy game. JV 1-2. Great weekend football-wise overall. Can't wait for week 0. Just getting ready. Was excited for this week's interview with the coach, and next week we got something exciting too, but just making sure Ball State of the Union is in a good place and coaching high school ball, man. That's really it. I'm super excited for the season. We got a big announcement today. Like, life's good.
Yeah, I unfortunately went to 2 football games this weekend. I'm a Center Grove High School alumni. I went to that game, lost, which was kind of shocking, and I went to the Colts preseason game yesterday, which was one of the most horrific, putrid displays of football I've ever seen in my life. Now, again, it is preseason. I understand that. But it was so bad that I left in the third quarter. I said, this is not even worth staying and watching. It's horrible. But it's been football. Football's back. I'm not going to complain too much. So, quick little tease for everyone watching tonight. If you've been on Twitter today, you saw Colin and I actually broke some pretty big news in the Ball State football world earlier today. We're going to get to that in our interview with Coach Mike Uremovich. And we're also going to give you guys a beginner's guide for Ball State football. So if you're a new fan, if you're new to the show, if you're a freshman at Ball State, if you've never been to a game before, we're going to walk you through a couple different things about Ball State football that you want to know, just give you a good baseline. It's not going to be super huge in depth, but it's going to be the things that you want to know, some team history, what you can expect if you go to Scheumann Stadium, and where maybe you should go check out if you're ever in Muncie. So, with that said, be sure to go over and subscribe to us on the YouTube page. Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe on Spotify, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you consume social media. For the most part, we're there. Be sure to go there and make sure you're following Ball State Union. It really helps us out in all the algorithms, helps us grow, and we can get the show out to more people. So, Colin, if enough people go over onto YouTube and hit that subscribe button, what is going to happen?
We've got a signed Willie Snead jersey ready for one lucky subscriber. Once we hit 500 subscribers on Ball State of the Union, we're going to put all the names into a little pinwheel or something like that, make it random, do it on, live, just so you guys can see it. So there's no conspiracy theories or anything like that. We want it to go to, who rightfully deserves it, who wins it. So I'm super excited to give that away. It's just sitting here. It's waiting. It's waiting for that one lucky person. So make sure you come and you subscribe and you enjoy the pod. This is really, we say it all the time, this is the number one podcast for Ball State news. But it's not just that. This is the number one podcast in the MAC. We're doing something really, really, new. And there's such a small niche here for most MAC teams that a lot of people haven't taken the step to do this. And, we're just, everybody's support means a lot, and just keep pushing us and we'll keep driving the conversation.
So, yeah, go over there, subscribe over there on YouTube, tell your friends, tell whoever about Ball State Union. And the faster we hit that 500 mark, the faster we're going to give that jersey away. One other thing before we kind of get into the news of this week, again, we have a busy show. I got all kinds of links and everything pulled up here on my screen. We want to always mention that Ball State of the Union is a proud member of the College Huddle. The College Huddle is a network of nationwide, independently made, fan-made podcasts for basically every college you can think of that has college sports. So there's Ball State, obviously our week one opponent, Ohio State. Actually, the creator of the College Huddle, he runs the Ohio State podcast. So we should be working together with him here in the coming weeks to give you a little bit of a crossover episode. But if you're a fan of Notre Dame, if you're a fan of Indiana, whoever you might be a fan of, aside from Ball State, obviously, be sure to go over to College Huddle, check out whatever pages they have there for those respective teams and just college football in general. So, again, we are pleased to always be a part of the College Huddle. Go over there. You'll find Ball State of the Union right there. So, Colin, anything else before we jump into the news here?
Not really. I'm just super excited for, this eventual interview we got here. Before we do the interview, maybe we could preface it a little bit, but other than that, I think we got some stuff before the interview we want to get into, so I'm excited to talk about that too.
Yeah, so we'll kind of just jump off real quick. One of the events that Ball State does every year, Ball State Sports, at the beginning of the season, before the school year starts or right when the school year starts, is to do something called Fan Jam. That was actually yesterday. I didn't see a ton of it come out of there, but it did seem like a fun event. It usually is a fun event. You have an opportunity where people can go on the field at Scheumann Stadium. You can meet the football team. You can meet the volleyball team. You can meet all the teams there that do some contests. And actually last night, Colin, they did have a movie night on the field after Fan Jam was over. I think families could stay and watch Zootopia too. Colin, we're always harping on Ball State to be doing cool extra stuff for the fans. What do you think of Fan Jam in general? And what do you think of the little added twist of making it kind of a movie night, a fun night out for the family?
I love it. That's a great pick for a movie too. I've seen Zootopia 2. Pretty good movie. Just doing stuff for families, for kids. So they want to go to Ball State. They want to go see the games, like make it a fun environment every time they're there. So, they're asking their parents, hey, can we go to the stadium? Can we go and watch Zootopia 2 again? Even if there's not Zootopia 2 there, just having them have that like desire to be there. And, just because they had a good experience. I think it's a good thing, and I think we should do more of it, and I'm happy they're doing it. I know the basketball team was there. At least Chris Capco, I believe, was there. Mm-hmm. So that's cool to have some, coach involvement as well.
Yeah, and, Colin, you don't have any kids yet, but as your marriage progresses, you have kids. It gets more increasingly expensive to take them to do things as a family, whether you have a family of 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. And this was a fun, cool event that was free. It was free for all the attendees. It was basically free for Ball State to put on. I think it's a home run all around, and I love the addition of the movie night. So, Colin, since we last spoke, I believe the preseason college football rankings came up, and we have some news that's pertinent to Ball State's schedule. Obviously, you'll see there the number 1 team in the country in the preseason is indeed the Ohio State Buckeyes, who just so happen to be the team that Ball State is going to play week 1 here in about 13 days or so. So we get into that a little bit with Coach Uremovich, but what are your thoughts on Ohio State being the number 1 team in the country preseason and maybe just the rest of the top 25 in general there?
I think it makes sense. I mean, I'm looking at the top 25 and I don't know other teams as well as I know Ball State, but just off of this view right here, I'm not seeing anything crazy that it just doesn't look fathomable. Maybe LSU's a little low, but I like the fact that they're 11 just because I don't really like Lane Kiffin. I don't really like LSU. So I like that. I like that Texas Tech is low with everything they went through this offseason. I'm liking to see Alabama lower than usual. I really don't know. Iowa's at the 20-something spot like they normally are. Missouri's 25. That looks like, what they're putting out on average. There's no real surprises here. Mostly P4 teams. I think all P4 teams, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it looks pretty good. I mean, Ohio State definitely, I would probably have them 1, 2, and I'm excited to see Ball State play them.
Yeah, so my 2 thoughts on this are from just the initial looking and teams that I would think have a chance to win the national championship. I think you can go 1 through 7, and those would be the teams that I think have a realistic chance to win the national championship. And also, one thing I forgot to mention, if you disagree with me and Colin, or you want to just comment on anything throughout the rest of the show, we are live right now, so feel free to put in your comments about what we're talking about now, anything you see, any questions you have throughout the beginner's guide question later, put them in the chats wherever you're watching, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on YouTube or on Facebook, and we'll read them as the show goes on. But anyways, I want to get that out there as well. So I see 1 through 7. Those are teams that could win. And in terms of Ohio State being our week 1 opponent, I could be wrong here. This is just off the top of my head, but I believe this will be the 3rd time that Ball State football has played the number 1 ranked team in the country. When I was in school in 2011, we played Oklahoma. They were number 1. And I believe a couple years ago when we played Georgia, they were number 1. Now, I think this is the first time we played number 1 week 1. So that would be interesting to see. But at the end of the day, this is a preseason poll. Nobody really knows. No one's seen any of these teams on the field just yet. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I'll be there in Columbus here in about 13 days. You're going to be there, Colin, as well?
I, too, will be there, John. I'll actually be in the press box for the game, but I'm trying to get down there early so I can tailgate with, the fellow Cardinal fans.
There we go. Okay, so let's move on. We have some preseason all-MAC mentions, and there's a few different ones. There's All-Thon Sports, there's Phil Steele. So there's a couple different ways you can look at these. I'm just going off of what Ball State put out there, and if I'm missing something out there, feel free to let us know. But Ball State was talking the other day on our guy TJ Horton, returner from last year. So it looks like All-Thon Sports and Phil Steele both have him in the preseason All-MAC team. I don't know exactly what team he's on. I would venture to guess probably the 3rd team. But TJ Horton's on there. I saw some of them had Chris Hood on there as well. Ball State, the union guest here just a couple weeks ago. Colin, what do you think about a couple of these guys being on these preseason All-MAC teams? And is there anybody that maybe is not on one of them that you really think should be and people should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, great question. TJ Horton being on the All-MAC preseason watch list, I think that's well-deserved. I think somebody's paying attention. They probably watched their film on TJ Horton. I think that's pretty cool. Chris Hood, I think you mentioned that. He was also on some All-MAC watch list there. One I saw you didn't mention is former friend of the show. I mean, still friend of the show, but former guest, Brody Bame. He came on, and I don't know if it was preseason All-MAC, but I think it was Freaks, like they were calling him the Freaks list or something.
Yeah, someone made I can't remember who it was, but they made an athletic freak list, and Brody Bay made the list as well. Yeah, so I do remember seeing that.
That was cool to see. And I think if you had to ask me one person that should probably be on a preseason All-MAC list like this, that's not, or at least that I haven't heard of, I would say Jalen Bonds. I was really impressed with what I saw last year, but obviously just going from his stats last year, you're not going to say, oh, this guy's going to be All-MAC. But if you really watched closely and you saw his runs, there's something there. There's something serious there. He's going to run a lot of guys over, and it would be awesome if we had 2 guys on the All-MAC list at running back. That'd be super sick.
Yeah, Jalen Bonds, I like what I saw, but like you said, a very small sample size at the end of the year. Obviously, you would expect with the departure of Quay Ashley, you would expect Jalen Bonds to kind of fill in there. And Chris Radican was telling us too, and we had him on last week, this is probably their deepest position. They think they got 3, maybe 4 guys who could pretty much be starters throughout the conference at different places. So, yeah, I'll be excited to see Jalen Bonds as well. But, yeah, so shout out to those guys. I believe Donovan Hamilton was somewhere on one of those lists as well. Again, I can't remember exactly where he was, but handful of guys. And it should be a little motivation. I didn't see any Ball State guys on the first team, and I don't believe anyone was on the second team, either offense or defense. So should be motivation for those guys.
Yep.
So, Colin, in addition to high school starting, even before that, the preseason is underway in the NFL. So we have a handful of guys in the NFL. We'll start with the unfortunate news first. A friend of yours, I believe a high school teammate of yours, if that's correct.
Yeah.
Danny Pinter, Ball State Cardinal great. Just left the Colts this offseason, went to the Baltimore Ravens. Unfortunately, suffered a pretty serious injury. It appeared he was going to be starting or either competing for a starting spot. Now he's got a long road to recovery back. So we wanted to give a shout out to Danny here. Again, someone you've known for a long time. What are kind of your thoughts on this? Obviously, never a good situation.
Yeah, this is terrible. This is just absolutely gut-wrenching. This is a good guy from a good family. He went to the same high school I went to. went to the same college I went to, played for the local Indianapolis Colts, represented them extremely well. He was more of like the first guy in on an injury. And here with the Ravens, it was legitimately his first shot to start. And it wasn't just like, oh, he might start. I think people were leaning, this is going to be the starting center for the Ravens next year. So not only is this terrible for Danny, for his family, but also terrible for the Ravens. Prayers for his family. I reached out to his dad and just told him, I'm thinking of him and the family and hoping to see him on the field, in the future. And I think it's a somewhat serious injury, and it'll be a little bit of time before he comes back. But, we're praying for him. Cardinal Nation is thinking of him, and, this is devastating. You don't ever want to see one of the Cardinals and the pros go down. So this just really hurt me. But if I know anything about that family, they're tough people, and he's going to bounce back.
Yeah, watching Danny at Ball State and then with the Colts, he played all over the offensive line for the Colts, wherever they needed him to be. He played a lot at center in the years, these last couple of years with Ryan Kelly being hurt and them kind of transitioning away from him. So, yeah, he was a versatile player. I hated to see him leave the Colts. I'd have loved for him to stay, but it just stinks for him. And, we're thinking about him, and hopefully he'll be able to get back on the field as soon as possible. But now let's jump into a little bit more of a positive, thing that we're seeing here in the preseason. Unfortunately with Danny's injury, that happens, but also people have chances to shine who might not normally get a chance to shine in the preseason. And one of those guys is Carson Steele. He did this 2 years ago with the Kansas City Chiefs when he's a rookie. Obviously not technically coming out of Ball State at that time, since that was right when NIL started, right when the transfer portal started. He moved on to UCLA, but still always a Cardinal. Fellow Center Grove Trojan as well, like myself. So both of us going to Center Grove and Ball State, I followed Carson Steele very closely. And Colin, he had a hell of a game last night. Let me pull this up here to kind of get the highlights here going. But yeah, Carson Steele last night for the Eagles, fighting to make the team. He had, I'll just kind of play these in the background as we talk about it, about 18 touches, 117 yards, and a touchdown. Now, I've seen that hurdle now for like the last 8 years from high school and college and now the NFL. I've been watching this forever. His freshman year at Center Grove, I was watching them play Warren Central. He is he's always big, but just a small freshman running back. He busted like an 80-yard touchdown like the first time he got the ball. So ever since then, you knew he was going to be special. I mean, look at that. He's jumping over people left and right, Colin. What'd you think of this when this kind of news was breaking last night that Carson Steele was kind of going off in this game?
So I didn't even see it last night. I woke up this morning and saw this, and I knew something like this was possible because I've always been a big Carson Steele believer. The guy is a stud. If you see him running around in that jersey when he's making those, quick change of direction, it's almost, and it might be the jersey. It's Eagles fans can tell me I'm crazy, but it's reminding me a little bit of Darren Sproles, but with like better hops. And I'm just going to lay all the cards on the table, and I'm biased, obviously. I'm Ball State Football Talk, but this guy is a top 64 running back in the NFL. I really believe that. There's not two running backs on each team in the NFL better than Carson Steele. He deserves to make a roster. He deserves to get heavy playing time. He's a unit, and he's clearly athletically gifted. He's jumping. He's hurdling people into the end zone. I mean, just what we saw last night is just, I think, what Ball State fans knew he had in him, but it's just so beautiful to watch him do it in the big league. So I love seeing that.
Yeah, so Carson, shout out. I've been trying to get Carson on the show organically for a while now. I might have to start pulling some Center Grove strings behind the scenes to get him on the show here, but would love to have him on because, obviously Cardinal great here. So, Colin, anything else that I missed in the news this week before we get into our interview with Coach Uremovich?
I think that's it. It has been a busy news week for what's been such a slow offseason, but now stuff is starting to ramp up. And it's given that football feeling, John. It's just so exciting. Before we do get into the Coach U interview, John, I just want to say there was a question we asked him. We almost didn't ask this question. And Coach U broke some news on the pod. I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you haven't seen it yet, Coach U broke some news on the pod. When he was breaking the news, he was like repeating it back like, oh, yeah, am I going to break this on Ball State of the Ball State of the Union? I thought he was like messing with us, and he was going to be like, I'm not breaking that on Ball State of the Union. No, he broke it on Ball State of the Union. Guys, this is big time. We are officially in the information breaking ecosystem somewhat. Pete Thamel he put the scoop out before us, but we might have had the info before him. Who knows? But it is so exciting. And just, thank you to Coach U for coming on the show and doing this interview. And I couldn't be, more proud and more excited for this season.
Okay, so everyone, this is a pre-recorded interview. It's probably about 10 or 11 minutes. So we're going to put this on. You guys check it out, and afterwards, stay tuned. Colin and I, we're going to talk about it, and then we'll get into the beginner's guide for Ball State football. So check out our interview here with head coach Mike Uremovich.
All right, everyone out there in Cardinal land, here we are with our head coach, the one, the only coach, Mike Uremovich. Coach, thanks for joining us here. We appreciate your time.
Good to see you.
Yeah. We've had you on a couple times now. We're getting close to the season here, so we figured we'd check back in with the head man himself and just kind of see where things are here. I know fans are excited. Coach, I want to talk about the offseason. Obviously, this is kind of the first full, true offseason you had coming into the second year now. Where do you see this team now, a couple weeks before week one, as opposed to this time last year, a couple weeks before week one?
I'm excited. I mean, we're a lot more talented. We're a lot deeper roster. Going into year two, obviously you have everything set up, and you have to do everything your first year, from setting up your equipment room to your training staff to your academic expectations to teaching the kids how to practice and all of those different things. So obviously going into year two, the guys all know what to expect, and we have our whole coaching staff back, which is outstanding, because when you're losing coaches, you got to train them, and so, that's been very positive. And the biggest impact I really believe on this roster and where we're at right now is just the single transfer portal window. Last year we lost guys and brought in 18 guys, I think it was, in the second transfer period last year. So those kids weren't getting here until June. And and a lot of them were major contributors for us. Now we've had our whole roster here since January, and they've all come together, and obviously come together as a team better when everybody's together longer. So I'm excited with where we're at. We had our scrimmage on Friday and made it through pretty much injury free. So we're healthy going into preparation for Ohio State.
Okay. And one thing I want to touch on, you talked about how it was this year with just the one transfer portal window. It seems like people are kicking up dust now and trying to mess that up again here with these guys going to training camps and not coming back. I know that probably won't directly affect Ball State right now, but what are your thoughts just overall on that? And this maybe now another wrinkle in this whole process you guys have to deal with.
I tend to only worry about things that I can control, and I have no control over that. But my personal opinion is, why would we have guys that are currently playing professional football coming back to playing college football? Yeah. If that is what ends up happening, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, no, it's crazy out there, and hopefully whoever's in charge, I don't even know who else in charge here can get this kind of going here. So
yeah,
anyways,
let's not good for the game.
No. So let's move on. You're in fall camp, training camp, whatever people want to call it now. So we've had spring, we had the summer, and now we're in the fall. We're just a couple weeks out. What's something that you learned about the team? And maybe where did they grow the most from where you guys started I know that probably won't directly affect Ball State right now, but what are your thoughts just overall on that? And this maybe now another wrinkle in this whole process you guys have to deal with.
I tend to only worry about things that I can control, and I have no control over that. But my personal opinion is, why would we have guys that are currently playing professional football coming back to playing college football? Yeah. If that is what ends up happening, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, no, it's crazy out there, and hopefully, whoever's in charge, I don't even know who else in charge here can get this kind of going here. So
yeah,
anyways, let's
not good for the game.
No. So let's move on. You're in fall camp, training camp, whatever people want to call it now. So we've had spring, we had the summer, and now we're in the fall. We're just a couple weeks out. What's something that you learned about the team, and maybe where did they grow the most from where you guys started in the spring to where you're at right now, just about 2 weeks out from the first game?
We've really learned, this is going to sound, somewhat obvious, but it's really important. We learned how to practice. I mean, we had one day that I thought that we didn't bring it out there on the practice field and show up ready to go and play with great energy and practice the right way. But every other day in training camp, whether it was a walkthrough, a run through, a full padded practice, a scrimmage, the guys have been ready to go every day. And we've got a little bit better every single day, which was our goal. So, we're ready to play somebody. You know what I mean? You get to this point of training camp, and we need to get a lot better. We need to continue to improve as the season goes on. But we're kind of to the point now, we're tired of hitting each other, and we want to come together as a team and go play somebody else.
Mm. And then in terms of team identity, obviously that can kind of shift a little bit from year to year. But when people watch Ball State this fall, what are you hoping the fans or just general people watching will say about the team after they watch them play?
Yeah, it's the same. Last time we talked, I want to be a physical football team. I want to be a disciplined football team. I mean, we were one of the least penalized teams in the country last year. That was one of the positive things. We want to control what we can control, and we want to have fun playing the game. We have a defensive unit right now that's 2 deep and 3 deep at some positions that can really run, and we're going to be way more explosive on offense. Which I know the fans want to see, but that also helps us win football games. So, we've had a far more explosive plays this camp than we had last year.
Coach, we've got a legitimate quarterback competition this year. There's been a lot of attention, on this competition between Keldrick Luster and Tyler Mazzell. Everybody wants to know who the starting quarterback's going to be week 1. Is that something you're going to break on Ball State of the Union?
I'm going to break it on Ball State of the Union. I have not talked to any other media members about this, but Luster's going to be our starting quarterback. He had a great camp, and I'm telling you what, it's not because Tyler didn't play well. I have confidence in both of those guys, but you have to make a decision, and we made it yesterday. And they've been great. They've competed really, really hard, but they've encouraged each other. They both have a really good friendship and relationship going on right now, and I told them both that was the way. But we all know in a game of football, you better have 2 quarterbacks and you better have them ready. And I have the utmost confidence in either one of those guys to go out and play for us.
Wow. That's a Ball State of the Union exclusive.
There you go. Awesome. I knew you guys would be excited about that.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
It was good timing Coach, for the interview.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Coach. So going into week 1, we are playing the best team in the country. What are your expectations for this week 1 game? What are you looking to see in a game like this? And will week 1 better prepare the team moving forward here for the rest of the season?
They are one of the best teams in the country, without a doubt. We spend time in June getting ready for our first 4 games. And then as training camp starts to wind down, I started watching them again. And they really don't have any weaknesses. I mean, they are good at every position. They have depth at every position. And they're kind of the standard, to me, of the best program in college football. I mean, if you look over the last 15 years, there's teams that'll bump up to the top 5 and then go down. There's teams that'll bump up to the top 3 and then go down. They are there every single year. They're really well coached. They have really good players. Our expectations in the first game are no different than any other first game. The Cardinals can't beat the Cardinals. So we can't have pre-snap penalties. We have to have good ball security. We can't have the special teams play that you're going to see in 15 to 20 college football games that there's 10 guys on the field. All of the things that are what they call first game things, we can't have those. So that's what we're doing this afternoon. We're playing a mock game in which we'll leave the locker room just like it's a game. We'll go to our warm-up spots. We'll go on the field and we'll just throw scenarios at them. Hey, it's a turnover. The defense has got to get out there. Hey, we're going for 2. Hey, kickoff after a safety. Like, we try to cross all those off that could come up in the first game, and then we got to be ready for them. We go play.
Coach, how different is your preparation for a team like Ohio State compared to how you prepare for the rest of your schedule?
Doesn't change one bit.
Okay. And then, I've got another question on that too, Coach. Like, with this being the first game against Ohio State, do you hold anything back on your play sheet, or do you let it all go in game 1?
Every game I've ever coached in, we do everything we can to win that game. So it doesn't matter who we're playing week 1. We're not holding anything back for week 2. We're going to get lined up and we're going to run our best plays that we feel will work against Ohio State. Our defense is going to game plan and do the best they can to stop them offensively. But we're
All right, Colin, you here?
Yeah, that the audio. I was getting messages. The audio was lagging. The video is lagging behind the audio. So
Yeah,
I don't have to just put it out on.
I don't know what's going on with that. So here's what we're going to do. I think most of it got out there. What we'll do is I will put the video in full on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, so people can watch the whole interview. For whatever reason, it's not working here through StreamYard. StreamYard's kind of crappy right now. So that is unfortunate, but we can still go off the show as we did get through most of it. I think we did get to the big part, Colin, like you were talking about, where Coach U did, in fact, break the news that Keldrick Luster is going to be QB1 here against Ohio State week 1. Colin, I know we were both kind of shocked. Unfortunately, again, the video really wasn't working, so we were not able to really see our reactions to it, but we were kind of shocked when we heard that. So what was your thoughts on Coach U coming on and just kind of giving us that announcement to break that news there?
So first of all, I was not expecting it to be Keldrick Luster. I was expecting it to be Tyler Mazzell. Now, there wasn't anything like major that was leading me to, that conclusion, but I was picturing our offense from last year, and the run game obviously was pretty decent. Kyle Kelly clearly had the legs, but our passing game was a little lackluster, excuse the pun. And so I thought we would be looking for the guy who was throwing it better. But if you remember, John, I've only been to maybe 4 practices this year, and I haven't been for at least a month, probably a little bit longer. So in that last month, it seems Luster's been pulling away from Mazzell. And how Coach U explained, it wasn't anything that Tyler Mazzell did. He's had a good camp, and I think we still probably will see some of Tyler Mazzell. But it was cool to have a legit QB competition this year, and competition makes everybody better. So it was cool to see Luster get the nod, and I'm going to support whoever's our quarterback just flat out. So I'm hoping he goes and he balls out week 1, and we have no choice but to stick with him, right? Like, that would be best case scenario, but we'll see what happens. The year's long, and anything can happen.
Yeah, Luster has like more of a unique build. He's a shorter guy, but he's big. I think they keep saying he's like 245 or something like that. He's a big guy for as where what he lacks in height. He's a bigger guy. He seems to be pretty fast. And those guys, they obviously they know more than we do. People have been asking me for a long time what my thoughts are on this quarterback situation, and I'm not there, so I don't really know. I don't get to see what they look like in practice every day.
They know more than we do.
And Colin,
my bad.
Yeah, you go. So they they know better than we do. I was a little shocked as well. I was kind of led to believe if this was going to be a pretty close race, that it probably would have been Tyler Mazzell, based on the fact when we talked, to him back in January, this was a guy that Coach U had kind of been after for the last 2 years. Was unable to get him on last year, was able to get him this year. So I'm with you. I was a little shocked, but I'm excited. And, Coach U seems to think that, if for some reason Keldrick were to struggle or to get hurt or whatever would happen, they wouldn't really miss a beat if they put Tyler in. So the other thing before we kind of move on from this, I thought it was interesting. I wanted to ask him. We were talking. He said one of the biggest things that's different this year as opposed to last year is that new transfer portal window being only one time as opposed to there was multiple last year, his first year. And that thought of these guys who have now been in preseason in training camp with these NFL teams are now able to come back to college football. There's a select few of them. And actually we've seen now, I believe the first one that's officially doing it, he was on the Cleveland Browns. He's a tight end at Ole Miss last year. He's now going to go to LSU, it appears. So it does seem like it's happened. And yeah, I'm happy that he seems to agree with everyone out there that, this is ridiculous. There's a lot of changes that have been going on. And I've said forever, I told Willie, I've told everyone on the show, when Willie and I were in school, if this is 50%, when we were in school, the coaches had 100% power. Well, now it's kind of this way where the players pretty much have 100% power. And I don't think either of those scenarios is good. I think it needs to be more in that 50-50 range. And yeah, this is getting a little ridiculous. So we have NFL players now playing in college football, which is ridiculous, but I guess not surprising given the current state of college athletics. So again, unfortunately, for whatever reason is going on technologically here with StreamYard, that wasn't working. But I do have the file. I will put it out on all of the platforms so everyone can watch it in its entirety. Again, we apologize for that. So, Colin, any last things from the coaching interview before we move on to our beginner's guide for Ball State football?
You made a good point about the, college to NFL, then back to college pipeline. And it was nice to hear Coach U, speak out against that and say, it doesn't make sense. I saw a video of Dan Lanning doing the same thing. And I think that takes a lot too, because it's not easy, right? Because Coach U could potentially maybe benefit from something like that in the future, perhaps. But for a P4 coach to come out and say, this is wrong, and Oregon's one of those teams that I would think would be one of the 10 to 15 to really, gain from having their, NFL a player that goes to the NFL and be able to come back. They're a team that would seem to be one of those that would benefit from that. But it seems like there's a consensus among coaches, really, besides Lane Kiffin, that this doesn't make any sense, and I even saw Marcus Freeman speak out against it. So it's nice to see that there are some college coaches that recognize that this will be a problem if this continues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if anyone has any thoughts on that, it looks like our Twitter stream is back, rocking and rolling here. Be sure to leave your comments wherever you're watching this. What do you think about this? And we will read it all here at the end of the show. So Colin, now we're going to get into our discussion topic here for the day. So, if you listen to the intro and off the wall debates that you're not going to hear anywhere else. It's not necessarily a debate, but we thought as the season is about to begin, there could be some new people watching. Let's say you're a freshman at Ball State. Maybe you have a freshman at Ball State. Maybe you're just a random college football fan who wants to learn more about Ball State. Well, we have you covered tonight. We are going to do what we are calling the beginner's guide to Ball State football. And so this is going to be broken down into 3 categories. Number 1, team history. And again, these are not going to be super, super in-depth things. These are going to be baseline things that as a new Ball State football fan, you're going to want to know. So we're going to talk about team history. We're going to talk about Scheumann Stadium and what you can expect if you come to a game at Scheumann Stadium. And then we're going to talk about Muncie, Indiana, where Ball State is located, maybe some things around there that you might be interested in. Now, Colin, I have some notes written up here, and I want you to just jump in whenever you feel like it, and if you'd like to add anything to any of this. Now, the first part, probably not as much, but as we get into the Scheumann Stadium part and to the part about Muncie, I think you'll probably have a little bit more to add, because right now we're going to start with Ball State football history. So when did Ball State begin playing football? Ball State football has been going on for a long time now. They're over 100 years old at this point. They started in 1924. And so
we just celebrated that 100-year anniversary 2 years ago. Obviously, for those who remember, that was not a great season. It ultimately ended a coaching era and started this one here with Coach Uremovich. But over 100 years, so it's not a new program by any means. They joined the Mid-American Conference back in 1973. So you're still, even though we've been in the MAC for a super long time at this point, they still had about a 50-year period where they had not played in the MAC. And then they became an actual Division I team in 1983. So the FBS level that they're in now, whether the Josh Pates of the world or the whoever's of the world don't want the FBS to be this big, Ball State is a member of the FBS. It's the top tier of college football, and they have been in that since 1983. So who are some of the biggest coaches that you need to know about? Ball State hasn't had a ton of coaches, surprisingly, for this 100-year history. But some of the names you might want to know just to keep in the back of your mind if you get in a conversation with a big Ball State football fan, or you're walking around the Hall of Fame at Worthen Arena and looking at the plaques. There's Dave McClain. He led Ball State to his first 2 MAC championships. Paul Shadell, who I believe our good friend Chris Radican played for. He was a coach for about 9 years. He was the coach of the team in 1989 and 1993 that won the MAC championship and led Ball State, I believe, to their first bowl appearance in 1989, the California Raisin Bowl. There's Bill Lynch. He coached at Ball State from 1995 to 2002, leading the Cardinals to the 1996 MAC championship. Again, one of the better teams in program history, and they went to the Las Vegas Bowl as well under his watch. And then many probably believe the top coach in Ball State history because of the season that they ended up having. That would be Brady Hoke, obviously a former player. He led Ball State to the 12-0 season in 2008. They got up to as high as ranked number 12 in that 2008 season. Unfortunately, they lose the MAC championship game. They lose the bowl game against Tulsa, and then Brady Hoke ultimately leaves. And the last coach I think we should mention is Mike New, the predecessor to Coach Uremovich. He was also a standout player for the Cardinals back in the early 90s, and he led Ball State for about, what did you say, Colin? I think it was about 10 years whenever Coach Limbo left until 2024, and he led them to arguably their most successful season of all time in 2020, where they win the MAC championship and they win the Arizona Bowl. So before I go on, Colin, is there anything I've missed here, or you have any questions about anything that maybe new fans might still need to know from what we just went over?
Yeah, that was pretty in-depth, John. I will say the one thing that I think we should mention, and it's apparent to a lot of people that follow the team closely or know college football very well. Since 2022, Mike New had a great 2020, a solid 2021. But since 2022, this team has been on a downslope, and we're trying to regain, some of that luster from those early 2020 seasons, from that 2008 season, from that 2013 season. We've been trying to get back there for the last 5 seasons. Really, it's been, I don't want to say miserable, but it hasn't been pretty, right? So we're kind of in a lull right now, but hopefully we've got the guy to bring us back.
Yep. So now let's talk about some of the notable players who have worn the Cardinal and white here. We're going to go way back here. The guy named Timmy Brown. He played for the Eagles. I believe he was a Pro Bowl running back way back in the day. Black and white era, not even color TV era. Timmy Brown. Then we get a little bit more modern. Obviously, we talked about Mike New being a coach. He was a quarterback, all-time great quarterback for Ball State as well. MAC Player of the Year. Calling from your Chicago Bears, Brad Maynard. And what you might remember about Maynard, everyone out there, if you don't know who this is a punter. He was an All-American punter at Ball State. Not an All-MAC punter, an All-American punter. And he was the MAC Defensive Player of the Year as a punter. Colin, how good do you have to be as a punter? How dominant do you have to be as a punter to be the Defensive Player of the Year for the conference?
He was a dog. He had to be a dog. I mean, I didn't see it live. I didn't see his Ball State days live. I was born in 96. I don't know exactly when Brad Maynard was around Ball State, but I'd assume when I was younger, much younger. I did see him on the Bears though, and he was a beast for the Bears. So I can only imagine what he was doing at Ball State.
Widely, probably a lot of Ball State fans would say, especially newer fans, probably the greatest player in terms of the impact they had for Ball State as a player
a lot of people would say is probably Nate Davis, the quarterback from that 2008 team, that 12-0 team. And then a couple other people here from more modern, from my time and Colin's time. Jawan Edwards, all-time leading rusher, all-time leading touchdown scorer. He's a running back during my time in school. Justin Hall, all-purpose yards, all-time all-purpose yards leader. He's a wide receiver, kick returner, everything guy. And then, of course, we'd be remiss if we did not mention our good friend and former co-host, the one, the only Mr. Willie Snead, all-MAC player multiple times. I would say at the NFL level in the past 20-ish years, maybe besides Brad Maynard, the most notable NFL Ball State player, playing for about 12 years. Colin, Willie would be honest if we did not include him in this.
Yep. We've got 3 guys we've slightly missed. We got to give a shout out to Blaine Bishop, legend out of Ball State, who I believe played for the Titans, or was it the Oilers?
Both.
I'm not sure, but I think it was the Titans. And he, beast in the secondary, all-time great Cardinal. Jawan Edwards. John, this is your friend from college. I have no idea how you missed this guy.
I said
all-time Oh, did you? Okay, my bad. I was just making sure. One last guy, though, is this guy right above me here, Drew Plitt, the quarterback who is responsible for bringing us our first bowl game victory in 2020. So I've got him hung up there. When we win another bowl game, I'll add another jersey up there from the quarterback who does that. But we got to give a shout out to Drew Plitt, too, friend of the show.
Yeah, exactly. And again, if you're just joining us right now, we're jumping into our beginner's guide for Ball State football. We're in the history section right now. Soon we're going to be in the section talking about Scheumann Stadium, what you can expect if you go to a game there, and then Muncie in general. And Colin, you're talking about Drew Plitt right there in the 2020 season. That is a perfect segue for what I'm going to talk about next, which is the 2020 season. I would say this is probably, unarguably, the most successful season Ball State football has ever had. Do I think that the 2020 team is the best team that they've ever had? I do not, but I think this is the best season they've ever had. Obviously, you all remember this was the COVID-shortened season, and so we didn't even know if this season was going to get played at this time. We talked to Drew Plitt about this. They were unsure if they were going to play. The MAC, I believe, was the first conference that kind of said, hey, we're not playing in the fall. We're going to play in the spring. And then other conferences kind of came around and said, we're not actually going to do that. So there was some question this is even going to happen. And the season got off to a bad start. Obviously, Colin, they lose to Miami of Ohio week 1, which is something that it feels like we do every year now at this point. Hopefully we'll right that ship soon. But they rattle off 7 straight wins after that. They go to the MAC championship against Buffalo. They avenge the loss from 2008 against Buffalo in the championship game, win the MAC title, go on to the Arizona Bowl and beat San Jose State for the first bowl win in school history. And they actually finished the season ranked in the top 25 in the 23rd spot. So, Colin, I know the 2020 season is special to you. Did I miss anything on the 2020 season? The only thing I think I missed was the score of the San Jose State game was 34-13, and it wasn't even that close. It might as well have been 60-0.
Yeah, John, we definitely smacked them in that game. That's probably my greatest memory as being a diehard Ball State fan, and because I graduated in 2018, 2018. So seeing that, in the beginning of my fandom, that really that created Ball State football talk, and I'm hoping we have a season like that coming up soon for this next generation, so we can build some fans of the program. Like what that did for me, just personally. I hope, 2027 or 2026 or 2028, I hope Coach Uremovich can do that for the future fans, of this team.
Another perfect segue. You don't even know you're doing this, Colin. We're going into the biggest wins of Ball State football history. And you're talking about what that 2020 season did for everybody and how that made new fans. The reason this show really exists is because back in 2011, Ball State played the Indiana Hoosiers in Lucas Oil Stadium, the first game my freshman year I went to as a fan, and I've been hooked ever since. So we're talking about biggest wins. Ball State had a three-peat over IU back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, in 2008, 2011, and 2012. 2 of those being in Bloomington, by the way, which at the time did not seem like that big of a deal. Obviously, after last year, those wins look a lot better historically now than they used to. But those 3 games, we also played Virginia. We beat Virginia when I was in school. I believe it was in 2013 at Virginia, the only time we ever beat an ACC team. And then the other 2 I have on here is
are the two games we already talked about, the MAC championship game in 2020 and the Arizona Bowl as well. So let's kind of round this out here. Who are our rivals? If you're new to Ball State football, you're trying to figure this all out. Who are our rivals? Well, our biggest rival was Northern Illinois. I think everyone would agree. We played for the Bronze Stalk. Unfortunately, they have now left the MAC, gone to the Mountain West. That's a whole other thing. So it appears that rivalry is, for the time being, or maybe forever, shut. A big rival in the past was Indiana State. Obviously, like we talked about earlier, we've moved on to the FBS level. Indiana State is still in the FCS level, so we do not play them all that often. Our main big rival right now is Miami of Ohio. That is our trophy game that we have left, the Redbird rivalry. Ball State has not come out well in that in recent history. Hopefully we can change that soon. And the potential rivalry out there of Sacramento State. Now, Colin, would you like to go into telling the people out there why Ball State and Sacramento State, a team in Sacramento, California, and a team in Muncie, Indiana, may become rivals?
Yeah, I think it's just natural when you say Ball State versus Sac State. You kind of see where we're going with this. Not to be crude or anything, but the names naturally fit. Also, with NIU leaving the MAC, they were, like you said, they were our number one rival, and now that leaves kind of an opening for another rival to take that place. Especially when, John, we don't even play Miami of Ohio this year. We don't play Indiana State this year, and our main rival left. So we're kind of in a predicament where not only is it, kind of like tee-hee, kind of funny, the names match, but it's like we're in a situation where we need a rival. We need another rival. And they walked through the door. They paid a big sum to be in the MAC, and just naturally kind of makes sense. I've seen Sac State on their official football page pushing for this rivalry. I think it's really a question of, John, how can we do it tactfully? How can we do it respectfully? Maybe some, cancer foundation or something sponsors it, or we do some donation, at the concessions for a cancer foundation, something like that, to tie it in, to make it make sense, for it not to just be kind of a jokey sort of thing. But I think there is legs there, and I think it could be something in the future, John.
Okay. Did I miss anything obvious in this history section before we move on? Again, if you're watching right now, put it in the comments anything I might have missed. We're talking the beginner's guide for Ball State football. So for new fans, we're giving you a history lesson. We're going to talk to you about Scheumann Stadium here in just a second and things to check out in Muncie. So Colin, did I miss anything historically here with Ball State football?
I don't think you missed anything historically. I think the meat and potatoes of this kind of history segment, rivalry-wise, is just pointing to the lack thereof, and it's a situation where, I'd honestly like to play Indiana State every other year as our FCS team. Like, I'd like to really bring that back. I think that's kind of cool that we have an FCS rival. I'd like to see us schedule NIU in the future, but obviously our schedule's full right now. I'd like to see us play Miami of Ohio every year, but for whatever reason, they're off the schedule this year. I think that's the main thing to take away from the rivalry section is right now we're kind of in a place where we're needing one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that I think covers up that. So if you're a new Ball State football fan, you should have that pretty much taken care of now. So Colin, let's now shift over to Scheumann Stadium. So if it's your first time, if you've never been to a game at Scheumann Stadium, I'm going to pull up an aerial map that they have on the website right now, and we're going to kind of go over a couple things here for everybody. So here is this map of Scheumann Stadium. So obviously, Scheumann Stadium is right here in the corner. I don't know if my mouse shows up or not. I don't think it does, but everyone can see Scheumann Stadium on there. Okay.
Yeah.
So where are you going to park? You come to a game at Scheumann Stadium, you're excited. Oh, where should I park? Okay, so you have a couple options. Number one, you can get a parking pass. If you're going to become a big fan, you're becoming to all the games, I'd recommend a parking pass, possibly. I have one. I have my reasons for that. I'll get that in a minute. You also can park across the street. And right by where you see those baseball fields, just south of that, I believe it's called the green lot. It's green lot because it's, what is it, Colin?
Grass.
It's grass. So they call it the green lot. So you can pay there. You can park there. I think that technically would be the most cost-effective official way to park at Ball State. Now, there's a couple other options you have.
to the east of Scheumann Stadium. And I believe our friend Rob from Sidelines, I put it out on Twitter if anyone had any suggestions for new fans coming to the games, what those would be. Rob put it out there. Let me read this here, what he said. So Rob put it out there from Sidelines. To the east is North Side Middle School, which I have parked here before. It's like $5 usually to park there. And you can park there. It's right next to it. You can walk across the sideline right over there. It's an easy spot to. You might save a couple bucks and give some money to the middle school. And it's going to be less crazy than if you go in that green lot. The thing with the green lot is that is where all of the college kids will be tailgating. And Ball State is known for its tailgates. That's another thing you need to know. What we might lack sometimes in actual atmosphere inside of Scheumann Stadium does not lack over there in that green lot. So you have a couple options. The other option, Colin, I believe you did this last year when we went to the Kent State game. You can just kind of find a street nearby and just park there. So,
oh yeah. I got a hot tip. I didn't even put this under your tweet, but for the people like me, like I don't want to say the brokies, but I'm frugal. I don't like spending money that I don't need to spend. There's a street. I looked it up when I saw your tweet. It's called West Beckett. I park on West Beckett, and there's almost nobody parking on West Beckett. I park on West Beckett, and then I walk right over and get right. It's, I don't know, 5-minute walk. You have to cross one light, and then you're right there at the tailgate spot where the Szymborskis will be, and that's the spot. That's the real, if you pull anything from this, if you don't want to pay for parking, West Beckett, right by the stadium. I've never had a problem.
Now, if you so I was talking about earlier, I have a parking pass. So the reason I have a parking pass is two. Number one, I'm going to be taking a bunch of little kids to these games this year. While I condone and appreciate the tailgating that goes on in the green lot, I do not necessarily want to be dealing with that with little kids. So that's number one. And number two, I don't want to have to be crossing whatever the main road is here. I can't read it here now. Oh, it's just Tillotson. Yeah. I don't want to be crossing Tillotson with little kids. So you can get a parking pass over there. I'm in the purple lot. They range in price. The purple lot is really not much more expensive than if you were just to buy general parking in the green lot every week. It's maybe like $20 more or something like that. So things to keep in mind. So what other things we need to know before the game? Obviously, there's the Cardinal Walk. So Colin, explain to people what the Cardinal Walk is. I know we did it last year at Kent State and went and checked it out.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing they're doing. So basically, if you get to the tailgate a little early, the bus will pull up and the players get off the bus and walk, and you stand on the side, like the sidewalks, and you clap and you cheer for the players. But it was actually the first time I got to see Nate Voris up close after having, those special games for us. And it's a good experience, especially if you've got children, John, like to just let them see the players and, ooh and ah, how big the guys are. It's kind of something that I think they changed it. Like they used to walk on a certain, like somewhere else, and they moved it so it's closer to where the tailgating is. So literally, if you're at the tailgating lot, John, I don't remember what the tailgating lot is that the Szymborskis tailgate at, but if you're at that tailgate lot, the bus literally pulls up right next to them, and it's a 30-second walk over to the sidewalk to see these guys walk in. And it's a cool time to basically show your appreciation to the players, give them a round of applause, thank them for putting on that Cardinal and white. And it's something everybody should check out on game day.
Yeah, so if you're interested in doing this usually takes place 2 hours and 15 minutes before kickoff. So, for instance, if the game's at noon, it's going to be at 9:45. If it's at 2 o'clock, which we have a lot of 2 o'clock games usually, it's going to be at 11:45, so on and so forth. So if you want to see that, that's when you need to be over there on this Cardinal Walk line right there. It's right on the south end of Scheumann Stadium, right above the Alumni Center there. You'll also see there's something called Charlietown. This is, around that same time frame where you can go. And other fun things where kids can go. It's right by the Alumni Center. There's all kinds of fun stuff. There'll be, maybe bounce houses. Maybe the cheerleaders are out there. Maybe the band's there. Charlie Cardinals there. All kinds of just fun things that don't have to be wild tailgating. Again, there's plenty of that. If you're interested in that, the green lot is for you. If you're looking for maybe some more family fun stuff, the other side of Tillotson, where all this is going on, is kind of what you're looking for. So mainly the college kids are going to, for the most part, be over in that green area. You're going to see more subdued, but there's still definitely partying and drinking and people hanging out in all those lots, the purple, the white, the gold, the cardinal, all those lots. There'll be tons of people there having a good time. So yeah, you can check out Charlietown as well. And those are kind of the main things. Am I forgetting anything? The tailgating, the Charlietown, the Cardinal Walk. Am I forgetting anything else, Colin, that maybe people should see before they kind of actually head into Scheumann Stadium?
Yeah, I got a couple things, John. I would say one of the most important things, especially for a guy like me, I'm driving 2.5 hours down there. The first spot I hit, before I hit West Beckett and Park and walk over to the tailgating lots, first spot you got to hit, Friendly Package. On Jackson Street, you got to make sure you got your Bud Light. You got to make sure you got your White Claws, whatever you're drinking, whatever you're sipping on. Shout out the good boys that we've been partaking in. Make sure you go there, you get whatever you need, and you head over to the tailgate lot. That's I would say the main one, John. Another thing that they do have at the stadium is these kind of spots. This is kind of end game. I don't know if we're headed to that, but during the game they have like a huge Bob Ross statue. And I'm a big Bob Ross fan. I think he has like some ties to Muncie locally. So they have, I don't know, John, is it like 10 feet or something? You're like 7 feet tall. I don't know. It's like 10 feet tall statue, and you can stand right next to it, and they have like these automatic photo takers that are really cool. So that's another thing to always check out.
We'll get inside there here in a second. The last thing I wanted to mention, and this could change at every time. I'm not confirming that this still happens, but as someone who goes to a lot of sporting events and has my whole life, one thing I used to love and always did was collect ticket stubs. If you go to a game, you get your ticket. You go to a game, you get your ticket. Well, the problem now in this world is they're all digital tickets. And a lot of times, Ball State tickets are that way as well. As a season ticket holder, they're going to be electronic and this, that, and the other. But if you have tickets at will call, if you go up to the window, they will still print off and give you a physical ticket. So if you're into that and you think that's something that you would like to have as a keepsake to keep from the game, Ball State football, as of last year, still did this. Now, again, will that be the case going forward? Who knows? But that is a fun thing I think I should mention. So, Colin, I think that takes place most of the stuff we need to do on the outside. Oh,
I've got one
else.
more.
You got something else. Okay, go ahead.
I've got one more that came to me. So you just hit Friendly Package, right? And you're ready, you're excited. But you get down there and say like your hat's a little dusty, right? Like you bought a Dancing Charlie hat a couple years ago, and now it's been sitting around, your cat hair's all over it, your dog hair's all over it, whatever. A good spot to go and check out before the game. Make sure you're looking fresh. They say feel good, play good. Make sure you go over to TIS bookstore, go shop, go get a Dancing Charlie hat. Go get something that makes you feel good and excited for the game. That's another spot I'd check out before you go to the actual stadium.
Officially called Game Day Spirit now. No more books there, only apparel. But yes, that still stands. So, okay. I think now we're going to head inside Scheumann Stadium. So let me pull up the map of the inside of Scheumann Stadium here. Give me one moment. Now, Colin, as I'm pulling this up, I love Ball State football. I know you love Ball State football. I am not going to be the person that tells you that Scheumann Stadium is the most amazing stadium you'll ever go to. But I do think it is a fun one to go to. There are some unique things about it. Before we kind of dive in to maybe some of the uniqueness of Scheumann Stadium and things people should know inside of there, what are your general overall feelings about Scheumann Stadium?
All right, great question. I love Scheumann Stadium personally. Like, it's not, you said it exactly correct. It's not something I'm going to go to my buddies and say, this is a stadium you got to be inside. But my favorite thing about Scheumann Stadium is, you went to Friendly Package, you went to TIS bookstore, you get to the tailgating lots. Say you missed the Cardinal Walk, right? You're like, dang, I'm kind of tight. You go up to you go up and get your ticket, $20 flat. So price of entry is one of my favorite things. But then not only that, you pay $20 and your ticket lets you sit anywhere in there. So I probably end up sitting in D, at the very lowest level of D, because I like to be right behind the team bench. I like to hear what people are saying. I like to see like who's locked in, who's yelling at people to lock in, who's our leader, what's the quarterback saying to the team. You can literally sit anywhere with not a free ticket, but with a $20 ticket. You can sit in literally any spot other than that club and suite seating. everything else is free game. That's my favorite thing about it is like there's no assigned seating. So if you want to get up and you want to move and you want to go and talk to somebody, you can certainly do that. And that's my favorite thing is like the ease of movement, like the low stress environment of like, oh, I don't need to buy a ticket weeks in advance. I can get there and then maybe 90 minutes before the thing, walk up. I've been tailgating for an hour already, walk up, buy a ticket, and then I'm ready to roll. So that's my favorite thing about it is just sit wherever you want, buy the ticket whenever you feel like it. Just enjoy yourself, a very laid-back, casual atmosphere. It's a blast.
Mm-hmm. So slight correction. You are directionally correct.
Okay.
There are tickets that are assigned. So the gold that gold section and the silver section, so all on that press box side, those are technically assigned. But what Colin is referring to is the games are not usually sold out or even particularly close to being sold out. So even though those are assigned, as long as you're in a section where, you know, the usher maybe does not really care that much, you can just kind of go sit wherever you want. Now, if you do go to one of those sections, be aware someone may come and say, hey, this is my seat. But Colin is directionally correct. There's usually plenty of seating there, and it's not usually a big deal. Now, the tickets Colin's talking about, those general admission ones, those are going to be in that end zone, that south end zone right there, that bronze section where it says Cardinals on the field. And those two bronze ones, the S and the T. So if you get a $20 ticket, that's technically where you can sit, or the lawn on the north end there by where it says Ball State. And I think that lawn is one of the more unique things about Ball State is that they actually have a berm, you know, as they call it in baseball. You know, you see a lot of minor league baseball stadiums have these. It's a fun, cool place where you can lay out a blanket, you can lay out a towel. Your kids can kind of run around and have a good time while you're watching the game, and you can get right up to the fence basically down there. So there are plenty of good seating options, like Colin said, that are very affordable. Again, $20, you're not going to beat that. So that is something to consider. And like you said, if you want a better seat, you technically can probably go sit over there, and it won't be that big of a deal. If you are trying to figure out where you want to sit, though, if you want to avoid what I would call the most conflict, if you have a general admission seat, I would strongly recommend one of the end zones, whether it be the seated end zones down by the facility on the south end where it says Cardinals, or the lawn. The reason being, if you are in the general admission on the other side, you're going to be right by the visiting fans, which there's not usually a ton, but there are some there. So that could, create a little bit of a conflict. You're going to be right by the band and the student section. So that's going to be the rowdiest, loudest place that you can be in the stadium is in that S&T section over there. So if you'd like to avoid that, I would recommend one of those end zone seats or buying reserve seats in one of those sections that Colin was talking about. Colin, I think that's a pretty in-depth review of where you can sit here. Did I miss anything?
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to point out about Scheumann Stadium that I didn't already?
No, that's pretty good. I mean, are we going to talk concessions? Because I got a little bit of tips for my vegetarians, my vegans out there.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I don't have an exact list in front of me because I think those rotate pretty frequently. They have some food trucks in there. What I can say is I do know for a fact there are concessions pretty well spread out in all these openings. If you see between G and where it says the general admission, the lawn and the Q, the W, like all those openings on those four corners, there's concessions like pretty much in all of those. There's some food trucks, there's some standalone places, there's some built-in places, and they have pretty much for the most part pretty standard food. General concessions that you'd get pretty much anywhere. They have some Chick-fil-A. I don't remember it being exorbitantly priced. I feel like it's priced pretty fairly for people to go and eat. But yeah,
yep.
Nothing groundbreaking, but they have enough to where they have the staples. They have maybe a few unique things, and it's not super expensive. But Colin, you had some tips here for maybe some people with some dietary restrictions.
For sure, definitely. So if you go there, I'll go with my brothers, my friends, and they're meat eaters, so they can have the Chick-fil-A, they can have the Papa John's pizza, or whatever they have. They have some decent options at just the regular concession spot, hot dogs, whatever it is. But if you're vegetarian or if you're vegan, you might be stuck with something like popcorn, or like I know they have a snow cone, icy kind of guy that's in a truck. So just be aware if you don't eat meat, or if you're even more strict and you don't even eat cheese, you're going to be in for some trouble. So make sure when you're over by the bookstore before you go to the stadium, you stop at Chava's, you stop at one of those spots in the village, and you get some food and make sure you're full. before you go and drink and then go to the game.
One more thing before we kind of close out our section on Scheumann Stadium. Again, if you're watching right now, this is the beginner's guide for Ball State football. We talked a little history. We're talking Scheumann Stadium now, and we're about to be talking some other things in Muncie. So if you like what we said so far, be sure to like where you're watching the stream. Add it, put some comments in there, maybe what we've missed, what we got wrong. I'm sure the next section is the section where people would really have some thoughts on that. But we're about to move on. But one more thing I wanted to let everybody know. Ball State football is like a lot of places now. They've adopted this clear bag policy. So, Colin, you and I, not really probably walking around with bags too often. If you are, you might have a press pass that can kind of help you get it in. But for ladies out there, you might have a purse. If you might have, whatever is going on, they do institute that clear bag policy. So make sure that your bags are approved clear bags are no larger than the 12 by 6 by 12. So, make sure that falls in that category. So you're not having to walk back to your car. You can get into the game and not do that. So, that's something that has been adopted a lot of places, and Ball State's really no different there. So any last things on Scheumann Stadium before we kind of kick this off to maybe things people should go check out in Muncie?
I think that's it. I think one thing to maybe note is, like, if you're a cigarette smoker, I think the campus is non-smoke, but I think you can get away with cigarette smoking in, like, the lots for the tailgate. Like, nobody's going to tell you stop. But once you get on campus, they are pretty strict about it. So just make sure if you're you got your Marlboro, your Cowboy Killers, make sure you know where you're at when you're smoking.
Yeah. So that actually, before I move on, that is a good point too. Again, this is the beginner's guide. So in theory, people listening to this right now maybe have never even been to Ball State before. So that is one good thing to remember. Scheumann Stadium, while part of Ball State's campus, is not on campus, if that makes sense. It is owned by Ball State, but if you're hoping to get out of your dorm and walk right down the street in 2 minutes and be at the football stadium, that's not how this works. It is probably maybe a 10 to 15-minute walk from the main campus, if not longer. So it is on the north side of kind of where Ball State is. It's not smack dab in the middle of campus like some places have. So that is something that I figure that is a big point of contention with a lot of Ball State people. The topic always comes up. If this was on campus, would more kids go? That comes up sometimes too. Before I move on to, I forgot one thing I wanted to mention. We did have one other suggestion for the Scheumann Stadium. Before you go inside, if you so happen to find yourself, this is from friend of the show, Jeff Peterson on Twitter at Jeff Peterson62. He said, in the general tailgating lot, and you have to use the bathroom, always cross the street to the concrete lots. The lines are usually non-existent or way shorter. So great tip as well. If you're in that green lot over there, like we were talking about with all the college kids, and you don't want to use the porta potties, you don't want to wait in line, go across the street, go to the bathroom there, head back. So, Colin, I think that covers it for that. Now,
that's a good tip.
Let's talk about Muncie in general, okay? Because while some of us just drive to the game, tailgate, and leave, some people might be coming from way out of town. Maybe they're staying the night. Maybe they're getting their day before. Maybe walk us through maybe your perfect weekend at Ball State, Colin. So you're in Muncie. You get to Muncie on Friday. The games, let's just say it's at 2 o'clock on Saturday, and you're leaving around lunchtime on Sunday. What does that weekend look like? Maybe what are some of the places that people have to go to? What are some restaurants they need to go to? Some bars? I know you mentioned a few of them already, but what does that weekend look like for you personally as a big Ball State fan?
There's a museum on campus that I've been to a couple times that I was surprised. It's actually quite nice. My wife does she's got her MFA, so she's into art, and I was kicking myself last time. When I took her to Muncie, we stayed overnight, and we never went and did that. So that's something that I regret not doing with my wife yet, but we'll rectify that later. Where I did take her is Greeks, because she eats cheese, and they have gluten-free pizza there as well. So she was really pleased with Greeks. I feel like it's between either Greeks or Pizza King. I know Muncie locals love Pizza King. So one of those days would definitely be like a Pizza King night. Another, maybe Saturday, if you're staying overnight Saturday, if you go out and you drink, there's always the Chug or there's Brothers. Brothers is probably better if you're a college student. The Chug is probably better if you're like our age, if you're in your 30s or whatnot, and you want to go with your family. I'd say that's a good spot. I love Thai food. I love pad Thai. I like to even like rank the pad Thai in South Bend. But Thai Smile, I think it's Thai Smile too there, has really good pad Thai. When you wake up in the morning, there's a place by the Village Apartments. Or not the Village. I forget what it's called, but it's a breakfast spot out there.
The universe. It's like
what
the
is that, John?
varsity. It's called
Varsity House.
Yeah, it used to be called Sunshine Cafe. It still may be because there's one down here where I live that was a Sunshine Cafe. It's changed its name now, but it's basically the same exact thing. Yeah, nice breakfast place.
That's a good spot to go to. And then really, if you want to go, a little bit away from the college campus sort of thing, Minnetrista, they always have something going on out there. I think it's like a little park or something, John. I could be corrected, but that's pretty nice out there. Downtown, they've got a sort of pub that I went to. There's like a downtown bar that has like good food. It's a little bit more expensive. It's a little bit more pricey, but good food, good drink out there. So check out downtown Muncie too if you're there for the weekend. Muncie gets a bad rap, right? Because it's, people think it's like a rundown kind of college town, but there's actually stuff to do. I love Muncie personally, and that low cost of living that you get in Indiana that I'm a big fan of. Like in South Bend, there's a low cost of living, but then when you go down to Muncie, I notice it even more. So it's a good place if you want to go do something with your family, but you don't want to spend a ton of money that maybe Indianapolis is a little too pricey. You can go down to Muncie, go see a game, have a good time for the weekend. I think it's a good spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so a couple things before I kind of answer the question as well. Again, this is a beginner's guide, so this is people who are not familiar and are trying to learn. We talked about two different places here, and you might, from the outside, think they're the same, but they are two different places. There is the Village, and there is downtown Muncie. Those are two different things. The Village is directly right, basically on Ball State's campus, like one street off of it. It's got bars and restaurants, and now there's apartments. That's where the bookstore was, but now it's just an apparel store. So that's the Village. That's where most of the college kids are going to go because a lot of obviously the dorms are all right there, and a lot of the off-campus housing is pretty close to that. There is also downtown Muncie, which college kids will go there as well, not probably as much because it requires you, for the most part, to either drive or get a ride or have a very long walk. So those are two separate things. But I'm going to visit both of them in my scenario here. So yeah, Colin, I think personally, if you're talking purely for Ball State, obviously Muncie as well, but purely Ball State, I'm thinking you got to go to Greeks on Friday. So for those of you who don't know, Greeks Pizza started in the Village. That's the very first Greeks Pizza. It's now expanded throughout a lot of parts of Indiana. I know there's one. I live about an hour and 15 minutes away from Ball State, just south of Indianapolis. There's one right down the street from where I'm at right now. But the original one is right there in the Village. So I would definitely go check that one out. Obviously, there's Pizza King. Pizza King's its own thing in Indiana. There's a certain line where the Pizza Kings are different and this, that, and the other. So me personally, I would go to Greeks. That would be the first place I would go. I'm going to end my Friday night. I'm going to the Chug. I don't care how old I am. I don't care what you try and tell me about brothers. The Chug is the most quintessential Ball State bar you can go to that exists. It's old school. It's been around forever. You got to risk your life to get down the steps to go down there. God forbid it's snowy or frozen outside because you're definitely falling down there. The floor is sticky. The drinks are cheap. I'm going to the Chug. If you want an ultimate Ball State weekend for stuff that's still there, obviously there's stuff that's closed in the past, I'm going to Greeks for dinner and I'm going to the Chug afterwards. Now I'm getting older, so I probably won't be out super late, but that's what I'm doing on Friday. Saturday, I think Sunshine Cafe, Yaya's. I can't remember exactly what it's called now because, again, it's changed names. I think that's a great recommendation. I'm going to get up early. I'm saying this game's at 2 o'clock. I'm getting up early. So I'm not staying out too late. I'm getting up early. I'm doing that. And then I'm just going to stroll around campus for a while. I'm going to start either at the south end in the Village or I'm going to start at the north end by the football stadium. And I'm just going to walk around because I think Ball State has an awesome campus. It's a big enough campus where you can walk around for a while, but it's small enough still that you can still walk everywhere and enjoy it all. There's a lot of new buildings there. It's a really nice looking campus. The bell tower's there. I'm walking around Ball State's campus itself.
Then I'm going to the game. We're doing all the stuff we talked about. We're tailgating. We're going to the Cardinal walk, we're going to Charlietown. We're doing all that fun stuff. We're watching Ball State win. We're doing all that stuff. Ball State has won this game, Colin. They won. They beat Toledo tonight. You know where I'm celebrating? I'm getting a Monster Marg. I'm going to Puerto Vallarta. Any of their 3 Muncie locations, wherever you choose to go. I prefer the one on Tilton. I'm getting to Is Special. I'm going to Puerto's. That's my favorite Mexican restaurant in the world. I'm going there. Huge margarita, the chips and salsa. I'm eating it. I'm having a good time. And you think I'm going to go to Brothers after this? Hell no. I'm going to downtown Muncie. I'm going to Guardian Brewing. It's a great brewery there. I'm going to Savage's, another famous, Muncie area bar. That's where I'm going. And on Sunday, I'm going to the one and only. I'm going to Dave's Video. I'm going to go buy some old school video games because I love retro video games, maybe some DVDs. I'm going to check out my guy Rob at Dave's Video. So it is interesting that Rob owns Dave's Videos, but such is life. So, Colin, what do you think of my Ball State weekend?
That's a pretty good pick. I love Puertas. I'm not going to give it my number one, Mexican spot all time, but it's top 3 for sure. That's a great pick. Shout out to Sidelines. Shout out to Rob. Good guy. Savage's was the bar I was talking about downtown.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there a couple times. That's a good spot. The Chug, it's just, dude, it's like dark, dingy, dirty, but it's a great time. If you're just coming for a couple beers, like, why not? It's going to be cheaper than Brothers and probably not going to have to deal with the youngish crowd. They're probably still there, but there's just going to be less of them, especially if it's not like a penny pitcher's day or something like that, So that was good. I like it, John. Those were good picks.
The only other place that I really like, and again, this is up for debate. There's tons. I don't live in Muncie. Colin doesn't live in Muncie, so we're just kind of there sporadically. But from my time there and what I still remember, another pizza place that I really liked is Cousin Vinny's. Again, I don't think it's not exclusive to being in Muncie, but I do like Cousin Vinny's quite a bit. I know there's some other spots. And also, that's it. Yeah. So, yeah, I like Cousin Vinny's as well.
I got something on Cousin Vinny's because when I was in the dorm and struggling and I was hungry and, we didn't have anything but $10 in our pocket, me and my roommate would put that $10 together and get that deal. They had some deal. It was like 2 pizzas and breadsticks or something. And, dude, that they really made sure the college students are okay out there. And so shout out to Cousin Vinny's keeping our kids fed.
There we go. All right, Colin, let's get into we have a couple comments from the fans here. Again, this is a bit of a long episode. Again, we apologize for the technical difficulties in the middle. I'm going to put out the entire interview with Coach Uremovich on my Twitter page. I'll put it on YouTube. I'll put it on Facebook. I'll put it everywhere. So you can check that out if you did miss it. But we'll wrap this up. We got a couple comments here and we'll get out of here. It's been a long one. We appreciate everyone joining us here tonight. We're excited. Football's almost back. So our friend over there on YouTube at On MC, he really likes the QB1 pick. Colin, we were talking about this earlier. This kind of caught us a little bit by surprise. But if you have been paying close attention the last maybe 2 months, you could kind of somewhat see the writing on the wall for this. I know you like Keldrick Luster as well, so I assume you probably agree with Mr. MC here.
Definitely. I'm excited. 5'10", 245. He's a weapon, right? Just naturally in his body build, how he is already. And he's a runner, so we can use those plays that we used last year. Hopefully we get a little bit more passing out of him than we got last year. But I'm super excited to see what it brings. Like we said earlier, I know you agree. We're going to support whoever the QB is. Now, if the QB plays bad, we're going to talk about it because, we're not paid by the school. We're just fans of the team. We love the team. We're diehards. We're gonna tell it honestly. That's why everybody's here, is to watch us talk about the game, like how it is. We're not going to sugarcoat it. We're not going to, soft lay it out there. If the quarterback's not delivering, he's not delivering. But I'm hopeful that he will deliver, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But for the time being, all Ball State Cardinal Nation just needs to lock in, support QB1. It's Keldrick Luster. We're riding with him. I'm excited. All
right, and Colin, our last comment is over from YouTube as well. I want to see if you agree with this question or not. If you can get behind this question/statement, we're going all the way.
In what sense? You know what I mean? Like, Are we winning the MAC? Are we winning the Natty? Like, it's funny. Like, I in the past I put like $1 on us to win the national championship just for giggles, basically. And it's not. I don't think that's actually feasible. But like winning the MAC, I think that's it's possible, right? Like even if it's only 5 to 10%, there is a chance there to win the MAC. But what I'm aiming for, I don't know that I can agree with that, John. Like what I'm aiming for is 6-6. If we go 6-6 and we go to a bowl game, to me, we went all the way. We went all the way this year because there's nothing else we could have done other than make the college football playoffs, and they didn't even let Western Michigan in last year. That doesn't seem particularly feasible. But if we go 6-6 and we win a bowl game, don't let us win a bowl game. I'll be on this, Ball State of the Union, sunglasses, smoking a Cuban cigar because I'll have my WWE belt. But if we even just go to the bowl game, I'm calling it we went all the way. For us, we would just win all the way on that.
You're wrong. The answer is yes, we are going all the way.
Now, what is it, though? What is all the way, John?
Doesn't matter. We're doing it, though. Okay. All right, Colin. It's been a long one. Again, as I said a minute ago, apologize for the technical difficulties. We'll get that whole interview out for you to check out on all those spots. But anything for the fans before we get out of here, Colin? Next week we're going to be right in the thick of it here. We're going to be under a week away from that first game of kicking off there at Ohio State. So, anything left for the fans before we sign off for the evening?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. On Twitter alone, we've got like 60-something people watching. I'm sure there's people on Facebook, there's people on YouTube, all that. We appreciate everybody. We appreciate the support. We are going to start eventually. So next week, our next episode is Sunday, and that'll be the season preview. After that Sunday, we're going twice a week. So it'll be on Wednesday and Sunday. So on that Wednesday is going to be the Ohio State preview. So we're super excited for that too. But make sure you lock in with us. Make sure you got your notifications on for when we're going to stream. We've only been doing this 1 year, guys. Like it really feels crazy because stuff is happening. I feel like we're getting more support from the administration. The fans are supporting us. And just in 1 year, we're at like 374 people subscribed on YouTube. Now, if you subscribe to me, that means you're really rolling with us. We appreciate, we love that. But we're trying to get maybe like 500 by the end of the season. I don't want to be to have my hopes too high, but where we're headed right now, the sky is only the limit. And as far as we can go, we're going to take Ball State with us, right? Like the bigger we can get, the better it is for Ball State. So we're hopeful to have Ball State in a good light to represent them positively. I know for week 1, I'll be in the press box at Ohio State. We're going to have the tip. We'll let you know, like, what did it look like from the press box? John will let you know what it looked like from the stadium. I'll go back and watch the film. We should hopefully have players on here breaking down the film with us like we did last year. We're really building something here, so we support everybody who takes the time to tune in, especially when we have something like today where we had a little bit of technical difficulties. Normally that doesn't happen, but we pre-recorded the interview. We, posted, for the episode. So we apologize for that, but make sure you go over to that YouTube page. Make sure you watch the videos. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you put the notifications on. Make sure you're really rocking this because we're diehards out here. If you're a diehard for Ball State, you're at the right spot.
Well said. Pete Thamel, we're coming for you. So with that said, Colin, for everyone out there, we appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Like Colin said, Sunday is going to be our season preview. We're still figuring out who else is going to be on with us, but we're going to have an in-depth season preview for you guys next week. And then, like you said, we're going to be it's going to be game week for us too. So Wednesday at 8:30 and Sunday at 8:30, all throughout the season is when you're going to find us here live on Ball State of the Union. So be sure to be subscribed to YouTube. Be sure to follow us both on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you want to consume the show. Be sure you're locked in with there. Interact with us. Send us messages. Let us know that you're following. Let us know you're watching. Let us know you know that you love Ball State football and Ball State of the Union. So until next week, Colin, chirp, chirp, and go Cardinals.